Board games, board games, it's what we're talking about. Board games, I'm not gonna shout. We are starting off this streaming with a little bit of singing. And if you look over to this side of me, then you will see the person known as Jen. And down below, you'll see a face that can be identified by their human name, which is Cat. And the last edition, which was made, was by a person known as Jade. And these folks have made some games and pillbox games, it's their company's names. And they're working on a thing that's political. How can we make it seem quite reasonable? So maybe we can treat these things with respect. This is a thing we need to effect. Board games is what we're going to talk about. Board games and respecting difficult things. It's we're not going to shout. Hey, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Hey,
Morning.
I am
love the
Bez.
song.
Thank you. I am Bez. It is bedtime in some countries. We are blethering about board games. It is the Bezzy bedtime board game blether. Oh my gosh, I didn't add you to this thing, Jade. I'm sorry. But it is respecting sensitive topics with Jen Igartua, Kat Thek, and
Jade James.
okay. I'm sorry, this isn't going to let me add that to the thing. How do you spell that? Jade?
Yes, and then a space.
Yes.
And then and then SHAMES.
Okay. So
And then it's over.
everyone, there we go. So yeah, that's what's happening. Jade James, there we go. And good morning, Chris. It is lovely to see you.
Hi, Chris.
Now,
Good morning.
this is the most people I've had on at one time, although it's still just one group. It's 3 people who all knew each other. You all kind of set up this company, are all working on this game together. And it was, I think it was Jen, you said, yeah, I'd be down for joining your thing. I didn't actually realize until yesterday quite how early this is for you. I mean, this is like 5 a.m. over there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you very much for making that effort. I mean, yeah, we'll get into the questionably quick questions and we'll be talking all about your morning, habits, I guess. But first of all, let's talk about brilliant things. Brilliant thing. What's a little thing which is brilliant? Now, I see that all of you... Sorry, Kat, can you stand up a tiny bit? Is that a bit of yellow on your jumper? No, it's white.
It's
It's
sheet.
yeah. It's
Oh,
I got
man,
some
I
yellow
was-
on my wall. Look at this.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, you are all linked by the color yellow.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we could say that yellow, even though, we like red around here, you can see from the banners and the bits of the background and my jumper, like a bit of red. But thank you very much, Jen. You're kind of not quite red enough to work at my stand if you ever wanted to join me. But you could get up there. But let's talk about yellow. Why is yellow such a brilliant thing?
Good
Well,
question.
Jen?
I think yellow is a brilliant thing because it reflects the sun.
Hmm.
Into that. If I may add, yellow is the color of the sun, our most important natural resource, but it's also the color of gold, which is a natural resource that we have infused an unnatural sort of value to.
That's true.
So for me, it is a color of high value.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of wealth. Do you have anything to add, Jade? I mean, it's a happy color. It's like the color of Mr. Happy, if you know the Mr. Men books.
Yes.
And then by Rod something or other. Greaves. I don't know.
Yeah.
Someone.
Yeah, there's like
The circle.
Yeah, and Mr. Happy is
That's
just
in there,
like,
yeah.
maybe it is because of the sun, as you say. I mean, yellow is just such a joyous, bright color. It's the color of baby chicks. There we go.
That's true.
Oh.
Oh yeah, very
And
true.
some ducks.
And my mom's bathroom.
Mm.
Oh. Speaking of chicks.
So, Jade, you don't have to add anything. You can just say no comments if you want, or pass. Do you have anything to add?
Oh, I love the idea of saying no comment to is the color yellow brilliant. Yeah, let's go with no comment.
Mm.
I unlike Jade, I'm willing to comment on the color yellow, and I agree that it is good. But I like that you've gone for a red motif for your show and for your jumper, which, by the way, I'm a huge fan of.
Thank you.
Is that knit? I love it.
It was. I'm fairly sure it was a mass-produced thing. Basically, it was a Christmas
cool.
jumper. So just so people can see the whole thing, there's even a little fireplace.
So
It's a giant Christmas jumper, and yeah. So maybe this is your new reputation. Before the show started, we were talking about Jade being the surprise substitute teacher. Someone goes in and says, "Hey, I'm your surprise substitute teacher," and then Jade rushes in as a surprise. That wasn't your substitute teacher at all. I am your substitute teacher. But now you might just be saying no comment.
No comment.
What?
What a kids, no comment.
But I love it because it feels like oddly litigious in a category that feels almost like Sesame Street, like a children's show or something.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, surprise, no comment.
That'd be incredible. So it says Sesame
Yeah.
Like a surprise witness is kind of a nice like surprise guest too, but always has no comment.
Yeah, that is where surprise would apply in this no comment context.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
True. I will say, I will have
Normally,
a comment.
surprise witnesses aren't great if you are the accused.
Accused. True. Not if you are the accused. That's true.
Well, let's look at this from all sides.
Let's just agree that all colors are brilliant, and whilst I am, specifically partial to FF1122, which is the kind of red that you see. You see it's on the screen.
Got it. Got it. Okay, thank you. Got it.
So I am going to, just for a brief moment, just change everything to yellow.
Oh my God.
What letter is that? What hex?
FFFF 00.
Ooh, nice.
Dang. Jade, can you comment on this?
I would say I very much approve of it and like it very much.
Yeah, I like it.
So now let's talk about recent highlights, living life and seeing the sights. Recent highlights, playing games and other delights. Recent highlights. What have you enjoyed recently? I'm just going to keep going in the same order. So I'm going to go, unless you want to chime in arbitrarily, let's go clockwise, starting with Jen.
Yeah. So I've been super into two things. One, do you know that new show Boys on Amazon Prime? Oh, it's like a superhero show, but the superheroes are like kind of bad. And I binge watched that in a very short amount of time that I do not want to tell anybody. If you take the total amount of runtime and then just make that the total amount of time that you sat down and watched a show, it'd be very close to that. So that's been super bingey and fun. And then Bez, I think I told you about this last time I was on Homelander is a Lowell Creek.
Yeah, that was amazing.
And the other thing that I'm working on is a family podcast, which is why I have this sweet mic. So I gathered like all this kind of like family stuff, which if we have time, I'll read you some very cool letters. I have all these letters that my grandparents sent to each other because they were away a lot. My grandfather lived in Japan a while, and so there's all these like letters back and forth. And the cool thing too is that like I mean, it's not that cool for her, but my grandmother had a daughter while my grandfather was in Japan, and then they have letters kind of like announcing and like talking about like, you know, her having her daughter, or their daughter, which is pretty cool. So I'm doing like a podcast where I'm calling all my aunts and uncles and kind of like digitizing our family history a little bit. My mom wanted me to write a book, and I was like, can't do it. I'm not a writer, but I'll talk to people and record it. So that's what I'm on.
That sounds awesome. And it's such a lovely idea, recording a podcast with a super specific audience, which is just these private family members. And it's not going to be available publicly. It's not going to be on, you know, Apple Podcasts or anything like that. It's just to be shared, presumably via email by to your family.
Yeah. And you guys, if you want it, you can listen to it.
I'd love that.
Yeah.
I'm very curious. Is there ad space?
There is. You guys can do you can sponsor it. Yeah. And then I know your recent highlights is anything, but you've got games I've been playing. I haven't played it yet, but I just bought Mariposas, the like butterfly. It's
Mariposas, yes.
Yeah. I haven't.
It's a new one from Elizabeth Hargrave, right? Yeah. It's about the immigration of butterflies as they cross the. Wow, it's really pretty. Such an amazing story.
And it's like really amazing value for $35. It has like so many pieces. It's crazy. But I could not get through the rules yesterday. Like I was just reading through it and I was tired and I was like, so I got that there's seasons and that I'm going north and then spreading and then coming back and that there's butterflies and I'm going to have to watch a video because I cannot get through it.
So it sounds like there's a game of Mariposas in your near future, fingers crossed. And have you got any gaming or any other highlights to mention, Jade?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Let's see. In terms of games, I've been playing Ori and the Blind Forest on Switch, which is a beautiful game. It's like a Metroid. I don't know if do you guys talk video games on the podcast at all, or is it mostly board games?
It's mostly board games, but you can mention a video game if that's like been a big thing in your world.
I'll just mention it then. It's very good. I recommend it. It's a great way to pass the time. And in terms of board games, on Tabletop Simulator, I played a bunch of Blood Rage, which is the Norse mythology game of Valhalla and pillaging.
Yeah, by Eric Lang, lots of card drafting, and it's funny how like some of those really big monsters, they don't come out unless the right things happen, but it does very much feel like the low-key strategy. What do you think of that? Because there's this strategy where if people are unaware of it, you can get so much victory points from just having all your own people die.
Yeah, I think that you have to play multiple times before you can even play the first time, if that makes sense. Like it almost doesn't count when you play the first time because you don't know what the cards are going to say. You don't know what how other people's strategies could apply. So you have to be prepared for certain things. Like I have a friend that especially loves to do certain combinations. He'll have a certain strategy if he gets certain cards, and I have to sort of prepare for that. Like you were saying, if your strategy is to die or to lose, you can gain a lot of points just by doing that. So yeah, but all in all, once you start to get the hang of it, I would say it is. It's really fun. It's the closest game to like a multiplayer chess that I've played in a long time.
Huh.
I've actually gotten back into chess because my husband's like super into it. He's on like chess.com all day. And
really?
I got like a fancy set, Bez, of the London skyline. So it's like the pawns are Big Ben, and then you've got kind of the like London Eye as your knights. What's the one that looks a little phallic? I forget what the name of that building is.
The Shard?
Yes, that one's actually the queen, but you have another one that's also kind of phallic.
Do you mean Big Ben?
No, let me grab him.
That would be my guess.
I mean,
Oh no, what is Jim gonna
you
grab?
could say that any tower is phallic. I mean, I don't know. Oh, the
Oh
gherkin.
yeah,
Yeah, come on.
it looks very gherkin-y though.
I should have said like a pickle, like a pickle.
I thought, what's
Yeah.
the one that's called the lipstick?
Maybe this one.
The shard looks kind of like lipstick, but that's the shard you might be thinking of.
Yeah. And then I actually don't know what the queen is. I don't know what that building is. It's a big old square one. But that's been fun.
Lovely. So, Kat, what are some of your recent highlights? And obviously, anyone in chat, feel free to tell us what have you been enjoying recently in the past day or since you last saw us.
Okay, well, one of my highlights is I recently started a new zine. It's called The Things They Fancied. It's by author. Oh yeah, okay. It's by author Molly Young. Here's like, this cool art. So it's like it's pretty homemade. You can tell like there's stapled sides, but it's still very nicely designed. It's got like a cool layout and like good pics. And what The Things They Fancied is all about is like little items that have caught the eye of people for like the past 300 years and have caused them to like go crazy and spend a bunch of money. So her general thing is like people are going to spend their money on like bonkers like products no matter when or where we are, and it's just kind of funny to sort of like pay attention to the stuff that drives us crazy for like no reason at all. So my favorite chapter so far is a chapter on pineapples. Before Europe had pineapples, or like the day Europe got pineapples, it went completely crazy and people lost their mind for pineapples. And it became this like really, really big status thing if you could afford a pineapple, because it costs the equivalent of $80,000 to grow one pineapple. So it was this major, major flex. And pineapples were such a big deal that you could actually rent a pineapple for the night just to like show it up at your party.
What?
And like there were whole people whose job it was is to like try to grow pineapples, and like they would mostly fail. They would maybe grow like one a year, but where they really made their money was teaching other people how to try to grow pineapples. And the way that they did it, because this is before glass or anything, because you can have like a hothouse. So the way that they did it was by bringing in a literal shit ton of horse shit to create like the amount of heat required to generate a like tropical environment in a deeply not tropical environment. And the people's accounts of describing pineapple are like wild. People they're like the bite of the flesh changes the mind. Like they go absolutely crazy.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but then as glass became available, it became easier and easier to get a pineapple, and as transportation became easier, you could just get them, brought in from warmer climates. And then once that happened, the rich started to be like, I never even liked pineapple. And
Typical.
so that I thought was really interesting in it is that there's studies that if you are drinking wine from a more expensive bottle, even if it's the exact same wine, your brain truly, glass, your brain truly thinks that it's a better quality of wine. Like if you get a price tag, your taste buds physically change. Like there's a very visceral reaction in your body that happens.
Yeah, the wine. Ooh, that's nice.
Perfect example.
The like wine snobs, when they hear that, they say that the glasses like aerate better.
But it's also done like the like sticker, like the price tag on the bottle. Yeah,
that
psychologically.
Yeah. So I've been really enjoying that. And then game wise, I've been playing a lot of Animal Crossing. That's a video game, and I'm like a little late to the party on that. But a game that I was really excited about was Wingspan, and I've only ever played on Tabletop Simulator because of quarantine and whatnot. But I thought it was really, really beautiful, and I usually don't like it when games aren't competitive and you can't like thrash somebody. But I found that I liked learning about birds enough to overcompensate for that lack of quality.
Okay, well. Thank you. And hello to Bostman87. We are just getting into the quick questionable questions in 2 minutes, so I will ask your questions then. We are just talking about our own personal highlights recently, and feel free to share anything that you've enjoyed recently.
What's yours, Bez?
Yeah, Bez, what's yours?
Yeah, I was trying to think about this. I meant to share some photos on Twitter, and then it's running, and then I had to kind of add someone to the thing and spend. But we've got some beautiful skies that I enjoyed recently. I did. Honestly, yesterday, my highlight, I'm going to say, was the conversation in the morning, getting to, eat some strawberries. That was pretty nice. Strawberries were good. And I had a wee bit of a wander outside, had a wee bit of a phone chat with Liz, just for like maybe 20 minutes as I was wandering, listened to a bit of a podcast, wandering and listening to people or chatting with people. That's one of my recent things, because it's not quite, but almost like you're walking with a friend. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's wonderful.
And in this day and age of not being able to get together, that's a really important thing. Anyway, so for this bit, some of them I'm going to ask to everyone and we'll just go through it. Some of them I'm just going to pick a particular person to answer, but other people can interject if you want. So let's go for it, because questionably quick questions. Are you ready?
Ready.
Oh, he froze.
No.
Oh my God. Bez, you got me good. I was ready to take over.
Okay, so questionably quick questions. We start off by asking, where exactly are you and what time is it? So, Kat.
Yeah?
Where exactly are you in the world? What time is it?
I am in Brooklyn, New York City, and it is 5:22 a.m. And if anybody else copies me, I'm going to be mad. So you guys better not say the same answer.
Okay.
Jen.
Okay. I don't know how to.
Well, what house are you in? How specific are you willing to get?
Okay, I actually am. I'm at 40 latitude, negative 73.98 longitude, and it is 5:22 a.m. Those are hard words. Latitude and longitude, or longitude?
Okay.
Longitude.
Jade, any comments from you?
I would like to be as vague as I possibly can be. I'm somewhere on Earth, that's for sure. I am north of the equator, and the time is between 9 a.m. Eastern and midnight Pacific.
That's not true.
It's somewhere between those two numbers.
9 a.m. and midnight Pacific?
Of the previous day.
Oh, okay, sure. That's how time zones work.
Good.
Okay, so you are all in Brooklyn. Now, let's start
come on, Beth.
I'm sorry, revealing the mystery. For those who don't know, I am in London. Let's get to the this question. Have you ever used a Ouija board?
Yes.
I haven't.
You've never used one?
No. My mom said they were bad.
Wow.
Well, yeah. I mean, everybody's mom says they're bad, but
No, my mom was into it.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've always wanted to, but I've played with I've seen one. Bez, how come you haven't?
I haven't made an effort to go out of my way to get to find one or anything. Like, I've seen one. I'm not against using one. I personally don't have any faith in them. Like, I don't believe that anything's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting anything to happen. So why would I get a Ouija board to just move around with some friends and do that?
That's one of those that will never work on Tabletop Simulator.
Yeah. Doesn't seem to work.
I don't think it works.
Yeah.
There is a really funny, I wonder if this is where Bostman got it. There's a really funny Reddit video that just popped up recently, which is a dad who says like, I've got my daughter's playing Ouija board upstairs, and he's at the like lights in the basement, turning them on and off. You can hear all the girls screaming their heads off because he's just like turning on and off the lights.
Oh, what a sweet dad.
I just feel, that's the best kind of like, that's the kind of parent I want to be.
Daddy surprised.
Hello, Simon. It's lovely to have you. And
Hey, Simon.
I'm not even going to dignify that with a response.
Oh.
Simon's just yanking our chain, I'm assuming.
Simon, quit yanking.
I assume that Simon's just having a laugh. And if someone isn't just having a laugh, then no, they are not the same. But do you believe in the power of a Ouija board? That's a question. Like, yeah.
I feel like I believe in ghosts for Simon. Ooh. Oh, really?
Ouija boards can be of real detriment if used by those with emotional or mental issues, Chris says. Is this because, I mean, are you saying that you believe that something happens, or are you believing that other people put belief into it, and so the movements of the body, collectively forces it potentially to move towards a particular place? Or maybe someone, if there's like 7 people touching it, one of those people could be pushing it and no one else is the wiser. I mean, I feel like that's the kind of thing that you would do, Jen.
As I think you read me correctly. I think that in the time we've spent together, you would be correct. I would definitely move it. Or I would go into the basement with that dad and turn off the lights. Because if nobody does it, you guys are all just putting your hands on like one triangle and being like, okay, here we go. So I honestly think that, like, I know you're making it like it's like tricksy, but I feel like someone's got to do it.
Like, that's the game.
That's the game. And if like no one does it, then it's just you and your friends in a basement with your hands on a triangle. Being like,
you shouldn't lock people in a room, but if you don't, then there's no escape the room.
Right.
Somebody's got to be the bad guy.
Someone's got to be the bad guy.
So true.
Hey, but it has to be with consent. That's the thing. It has.
Okay.
I think that these
Fine.
kinds of things.
Consensual
I think there has
villainy.
to be some sorts of informed consent.
Absolutely. If you start a company that's like escape the room, but no one has consent, I think that it could be tough.
It's called kidnapping.
It's
There's a word for that.
Oh, surprise escape the room.
Surprise escape the room.
URL.
Hello, Ludo Cherry. I think this is Phoebe. And hello, J Fool's Guard. We're just talking about Ouija boards and surprise things and surprise escape the room business ideas. And what we're thinking, what I'm thinking is that people maybe pay a one-off fee and maybe have like some nominal monthly subscription fee. Like, let's say you pay, the whole escape the room thing costs like $100. Okay.
Yeah.
You need to pay this $100. And then you pay like a monthly, $1 per month. And that could last any time. You don't know when.
I love where this is going.
You are going to be kidnapped with your friends. And then you're just going to be chucked into this room. It could happen at any time, any place. And then surprise escape the room.
Let's make that more. Let's say, hey, you are part of subscription. It could be escape the room. But like once a month, something surprising is going to happen to you.
I love this.
So like
so maybe once a month, like it's just okay. Here's a little sweetie. Oh, that's here's some stickers. But once a month, maybe gets kidnapped, and maybe you need to kind of tick off the boxes when you apply to say, hey, this is what I agreed to.
Yeah,
obviously you need to be informed, but
sometimes it's just surprise substitute teacher, and you that's it.
And that's it, right?
Simon Peter says, less facetiously, they have been on stage with Darren Brown. Oh, cool. Doing a spirit painting trick that relied on similar processes.
Whoa, how was it?
That does sound like lots of fun. I have a lot of respect for Darren Brown. Did you see, like, he did a couple of, I think it was Netflix originals, I'm not sure, but they had this thing where people were basically called a push, where it was about if you were, you get someone to try to kill someone.
Yeah.
Chris the Unicorn Collective just one-upped. He sold him a mobile phone charger once.
Interesting.
I don't know. I would rather be on stage with Darren Brown.
Then
which
sell him
was
a mobile
apparently
phone.
weird and fun.
Yeah, one sounds a little bit more fun than the other, but I don't know. I've never sold Darren Brown a phone charger, so
Also,
I
how
can't
much?
say.
How much,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, like, maybe Chris can't remember because of all those mind games. Now, I'm going to wind down. Well, we can keep this going for a wee bit longer, unless you guys have to rush off. We normally, this show lasts up to 2 hours. Do you have a earlier deadline? I should have asked before we started recording.
Probably on the shorter side to get back another little nap.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is the creepiest thing to ever happen to you? We'll call this the last question.
Okay. It's not creepy, but it's the first thing that came to mind, and I tell this story a lot because I'm still upset about it. When I was in sixth grade, I went to the bathroom and I found a turd on the floor, and then I told the teacher, and then a rumor started at school that it was mine, but I found it. But it wasn't mine, and a whole rumor in the whole school was that it was me. And then I even got sent to the principal's office to be asked if it was mine. That's how big the rumor got. And I had to tell the principal, no, I reported it. It wasn't mine. And I don't think I've ever cleared my name fully, so I bring this up as much as I can. I'm trying to clear it.
Jen, I think what's difficult, why people are having a hard time with that
I
story
get
is
No.
yeah, you shit on the floor all the time. Like you're always doing it though.
Yeah,
And
but
that's
that's not that time.
all right, sure.
Wow.
Kat, yeah.
Well, one time in middle school, I was trying to poop on the floor, and this girl walked in. It was so creepy.
Oh, Simon believes me. Thank you, Simon.
Okay. Truthfully, okay. I have a very, I thought I was the only person with my name on Facebook. And then one day okay. So there was one other person with my name on Facebook. I friended her immediately, obviously. This was like in the early days of Facebook when it was like fun and mysterious. So I friended her immediately, and then like a decade went by, no response, hard pass from the other one of me. And then I go on Facebook, and in my feed is an update from me, but it was a bad update. It was of a woman in blackface, but it was my same name, and I was like, "What the? Like, what is happening? It was so unnerving to see that next to my name, you know." Yeah. But it turned out that the other person with my name had finally accepted my friend request, and I was getting a little taste
of the other cat. Thek, you have an evil twin.
Of the content. Yeah. So it was very creepy. I don't know. It's not identity theft because she's a real person, but
felt like it.
Yeah, it was spooky. It was creepy.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a real bummer.
I mean, I'm struggling to think of something creepy. Do you have anything, Jade?
Yeah. Well, one time I went out to Cape Cod, which is a beach town in Massachusetts, and I went up to this place in the wintertime so that I could be isolated and I could get some writing done. And there was a snowstorm, and I got snowed in, and all the power was cut because of the snowstorm. And I was literally lighting fires in the fireplace to survive because the temperature started dropping. So I was like, I got to get out of here. So I was calling people to see if they could come and get me. And one of my friends,
he was stranded.
Yeah, I was stranded. And the roads were all closed because it was snowing so severely. So I was like, well, I got to get out. I mean, there's no power. I'm running out of food. And I called my friend Alistair, who seemed to just be waiting by the phone for this exact moment. And he was like, yep, I'll do it. He illegally drove to me to come get me, avoiding major highways so that he could avoid the cops. He eventually, I remember distinctly him saying, okay, I'm going to be there in the morning. It was like around 6 a.m. and I hear a knock on the bedroom door of the place that I'm staying. And I go to answer it, and a gorilla is standing there. And it's Alistair in a full gorilla outfit with some bananas. And that was really creepy. That's it. Yeah. So as creepy as it was, though, it's a good story because he ended up saving me, and we drove back together, and I'm alive now.
Awesome. Well, that sounds like a good story. Also, bye, Phoebe. It was lovely to see you.
Bye, Phoebe.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. The creepy things that I might talk about, I don't want to bring up right now. Let's say there might be some stalking involved, but that's not something that I want to bring up any more than that.
Yeah.
But let's finish up all the questionably quick questions, and just for 5 minutes, can you tell us a little bit about your project that you're working on? And we'll say that to make it interesting, you get 5 words each, starting with Kat.
That's fun.
Okay, that doesn't count. Neither does this. Okay. Question, Bess. Do all the 5 words need to make sense in a row, or should they all be adjectives?
Nah, just basically do something.
Okay. Rats, power, scandal, votes, sneaky.
Ooh.
Okay, Jen.
She took a lot of mine. Okay. Trades. Backstabbing. Political. Callbacks. And art.
Yes.
Jade.
Okay. It's really, really, really fun.
Okay, nice.
I'd also just like to add, back us on Kickstarter now.
I thought about saying that.
But how did you all meet each other? Let's get into just nailing down who you are. Some more questions. And we'll go one question to each of you, moving from Kat, Jen, Jade, and so Kat, how did you meet each other?
Okay, let's see. First, I met Jade when we were studying abroad together when we were in school, which was quite a while ago. And now, most recently, I know him from being married to him.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know Jen from, I used to be her cousin Brendan's roommate.
That's right.
And then we became friends. And Jen has been a very funny friend for a very long time now. And then we have a 4th person in our group, Ben, who...
Right there.
You're there.
That's it.
Yeah, there's Ben. And his girlfriend, Sarah.
And then there's Ben.
And how do you know Ben?
I know Ben through mutual friends.
I just started showing up at parties.
Yeah.
Yeah, I met Ben after moving to Brooklyn. He had gone to RISD.
So you all knew each other, and you're not quite, but similar to, the friends from that old show, Friends, because you live in New York.
Totally.
And so you're basically exactly like them.
It's exactly like
very realistic.
You're exactly like 2/3 of them.
Yeah, it's like Friends and like Ninja Turtles combined.
Okay.
Those
Because
two.
we have a
how
rat
did
overlord.
you choose to start
Yeah.
making games together?
Well, Jade started, like, Jade's always made games. I'm going to speak for you. And one of the first games that I played with Jade was he, every time at his birthday party, in order to enter, you have to give one of your secrets to him in a little piece of paper. You don't have to sign your name on it. And then he puts it in like a box. And then on your way out, he gives you someone else's secret, but you don't know whose it is. So that was kind of the first game I ever played with Jade. And he started making side effects. That was our first game. And we played it at a bar called Sisters in Brooklyn. And we decided to make it a reality. And that's how we kind of made the decision to start our first game on Kickstarter and become a real company.
And Jade, how did that go? What were your objectives, and did you manage, not funding goal, like were you trying to make money? Was it trying to just get something out into the world? What were you trying to do, and did you manage to do it with that first game?
I really think that the first and foremost, the goal was to have fun. And it almost felt like the company was the game itself. But, you know, in like any game, you want to do it well. And so the objective then became, okay, well, let's try to do this really well in the sense that we can get enough funds to make a sustainable business and get the game out in the world and, you know, have that make more money and have more people appreciate it. So like, you know, recognition, and we knew that like, you know, making a game company is not going to make anybody rich. So you know, that was sort of off the table from the get-go. But I think like, you know, it's not crazy to have lofty goals or to have a dream about, you know, making it more of your life than it is right now. Like from a side project to a full-time project, I think has always been sort of like my dream. And whether or not that happens, it's okay. But I can still hope and dream for that to be a reality.
And a quick hello to Alex. It's lovely to see you.
Good morning.
Hi, Alex.
So talking about how you went from that first game, Kat, were you always going to make more games, the four of you? Were you always going to keep doing this?
I think so, yeah. That or death. That was always
And
the plan.
Jen, why did you decide this game?
Well, I think that kind of goes a little bit into our topic, but there's two things that I think when we talk about what defines Pillbox Games and where we're going, one of them is about making games out of real world systems. So like this one that you're showing, Mud, that's on Kickstarter now, is, you know, kind of a game on the real world system of politics. So wanting to kind of win an election and having votes and taking scandals and that whole thing. It was very similar to our first game, which was Side Effects, which was about mental disorders and, you know, taking pills, but the pills give you kind of more side effects, which can make you incur more disorders, and having to balance that out. And so, you know, it's basically these difficult topics to talk about and making games out of them. And as you're showing pictures, the second thing that's really important to us is making games that are beautiful, that you would want to sit out on your coffee table, things that you don't want to put away. So like I've got this one handy. Like this is the way that our kind of last game came out. You can see we put like kind of foil on the box, you know, made it kind of pretty sturdy. Even the cards, this was our Kickstarter edition, have kind of gold on the sides. We made it with the company called Panda, and they said this was the most expensive card game they had ever made. And that's because we were not very good, like, game business people. We were like, ooh, 10 cents more for that sounds like nothing. Let's go for it. And heavier cards for 8 cents. Sure. And all of a sudden our game was very expensive. But it kind of goes with our ethos, which was like, we want people to get like a badass game. And it's not, you know, really driven by margin, right? It's kind of, we know that this is a side hustle, and we hope that it, you know, makes us enough money to make our next game.
And Jade, what do you think are the motivations for making Mud?
I think like with a lot of the things we do, like the first and foremost motivation is fun. So I think that making Mud was about making a fun game. But I think like to Jen's point, our games tend to have a little bit of social commentary to them and tend to skew a little dark and edgy in what we do, and this is no exception. I think that when I was thinking about this game, it was during one of the elections, and I just felt like our system has so many different flaws to it, and to kind of poke fun, but in a lighthearted way, we added all this little bit of social commentary to the game, like how the voters look like currency, because to a politician, that's sort of what their currency is, and not human beings or people, and also how the issues don't seem to matter to the politicians. Like there's no issues in this political game. It's just about winning. So yeah, I think that I like to view the art as the game, game as art, and to do more things.
When you say the arts as the game, do you mean the two-dimensional art, like the?
Well, that too. I think that too, but I also think that we aspire to make a kind of like game as art. If we were making art as artists, like in terms of that you feel something from it, or that you have a kind of cathartic experience or a fun or exhilarating experience from it. I mean, I would hope that we would try to at least do that in our games.
I mean, there's kind of like the not every piece of art needs to do this, but a lot of art is social commentary, right? And it's a reflection of your time or something that's affecting you. And so I think that that's a bit of it. It's kind of an interesting thing that I think his name is Alex Aquasulis just put up there, which is like, seeing political games and wondering if they're too real. And we definitely considered this. It's actually one of the things that makes it like hard. Political games don't do well on Kickstarter kind of historically. And we knew that going in. We knew that like, hey, they just don't sell as much because people make, very crappy games with like a political skin on it because, they hope it sells. And, yep.
I mean, for sure, that's a thing. Like when, Trump is the flavor of the month, and then you get a bunch of people saying, okay, here's a thing about Trump, or hey, Brexit just happened, let's have a game about Brexit. Right. And you can almost tell, like, by how quickly that thing comes out, if it's coming out within a couple of months of the thing, well,
they
didn't
have time.
Yeah, they didn't go through the playtesting process. They just basically got the art done. But if it's about a lingering topic, I mean, I think like myself and Tiz were talking next Sunday about our game, which is about bigotry, discrimination, and subjugation of power. And this is, it has a different tone, but I don't think that the topic itself can be too real, but it's about the treatment of the topic, I want to say.
Yeah. And I think, one of the things that maybe it's to our demise because it makes it feel like, hey, they're doing it right before the election, but we actually held on to this game until now. We've been kind of playtesting and creating it for like almost 2 years. Like if you look at our Side Effects Kickstarter, it teases this game 3 years ago. And so it is something that we've been working on for a long time. It is like first and foremost a game, of a political theme. And so, in the terms of can it be too real, we did make it, a lot of like callbacks to like, real political scandals. So like these are all of our kind of scandal cards, and they each do say like a real scandal on them. And so there are kind of reflections of reality, but we made it kind of timeless. This isn't a political like representation of like today, even though it is. Like all these things have been going on, for basically our entire political system in the US.
What is the basic message, Jen, would you say, in this game? What's the takeaway that you want people to have?
Yeah. Well, one, like the core of it is still a lot of our ethos, right? So like, hey, here's a game about our system and here's like a beautiful, well-made game. In terms of like mud itself, when you're playing like a dirty politician, there's kind of like two kind of real reflections, I think. One of them is like you can play dirty and incur scandals and they may or may not hurt you. And so like that is a big reflection of kind of what goes on. And like the fact that we are almost immune right now to scandals, like they happen all the time. Like there's these crazy things that are, you know, Trump and our politicians are doing, saying, and like we should all be shocked, but we're not. And so there's this like kind of thing in the game where you can kind of take scandals. They may or may not hurt you. Like you don't, like you could play without caring. And so that's kind of like a real big reflection of today. And, you know, this isn't as much, actually, you guys might have this in your political system too. I don't remember in the UK, but in the US, you can win without the popular vote. And so you can also do that in this game. Like you could win without it.
And just to add, I think that something that always frustrates me about our system is that it's really just two parties. Yeah. And that was one of the early decisions in the game is to instead call the, because there's a liberal and a conservative voter card, but then there's the undecided, and the name switch, which I think was Ben's idea, to call them undecided was deliberate. Because at one point, I think I wanted to call them independents. But no, we don't see them in our political viewpoint as an independent thinker. We see them as simply undecided between those two, you know, polarities. And I think it's really ridiculous because anything you do is going to pigeonhole you into one side of a spectrum instead of just a new idea or, you know, an interesting idea.
So yeah, about the lack of an impact of scandals, about the lack of true representation in terms of proportional representation, which could happen. And let's take a step back and say, what are we talking about? What does respect mean to you, Kat?
Oh dear. I think respect is mostly kindness. It's treating a person or a topic with not just empathy, you know, like really trying to see it how they would see it, but just kind of boring old kindness to err on the side of being a little gentle. I think that's kind of the way in for anything difficult, is to just look at it from all angles and err on the side of kind.
I really like what you're saying about kindness, and kindness also embodies other things such as thoughtfulness and consideration. And in a way, these sensitive topics are basically topics that have the potential to be damaging maybe to others, to be that you could be unkind with them. These are topics that maybe they have a higher emotional charge to them, whether it's something talking about politics, whether it's something talk about our gender identity, or about discrimination, about the political makeup of our world. Would you agree with this broad definition, Kat?
Yeah. I mean, do I agree with the
how I define sensitivity? Like
absolutely,
it's got that potential to damage.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Yeah, I think it's important to be really sensitive when dealing with any broad, delicate topic. And I think you said it nicely that emotions make it a little higher when talking about something sensitive, but that doesn't mean that it's not worth talking about. It just means it's worth talking about in a really deliberate way. And I think that a game can actually be a really powerful way to do that, because the other thing about difficult topics is sometimes we just don't want to talk about them because they're difficult, and putting a wrapper of a game on it can be a way to really interact with something and kind of like put a little distance between yourself and something that is maybe sort of hard to pull out, you know, and see from a broader way. So when thinking about approaching something with kindness and with empathy, a game I think can really be beneficial with that. Give you a little perspective.
Jen, do you have anything to add to this definition?
Not necessarily. I think the one thing I wanted to add, which I'm gonna link you. I don't know if you can see or share this.
Yeah, like if you put it on private chats.
Yeah, I just did that. So one of the really lovely things when we made side effects, which we kind of started talking a little bit about, which is it is about mental disorders, right? So again, like a topic that's like hard for people to talk about and that's stigmatized. So, we've got a couple of cards here, but like, here's an example card, for example, right? Like it has depression, it has anxiety in the game. And what you're seeing here is actually a post that somebody made, where they talk about, they say side effects, which cards match you? These are mine. Both Raylo, her husband, and I struggled with mental health throughout our whole life. And she just kind of talks about how this game made her kind of feel seen. And that like she was kind of able to play this game that, kind of reflected her, personal space and like, who she was and was a place where she could talk about it. This is one of many messages that like through social, email, etc. that we've gotten. That's not to say that we haven't gotten the opposite. Not much, but we've gotten a few times where people have said like, hey, this game like is not appropriate. And so, I think that that's kind of this topic that I wanted to talk about, which is like, how do you treat a subject with respect? How do you make your intent, kind of seen? And how do you make sure that you do things respectfully, knowing that like not everybody's going to receive it in the same way? And I think that that's been like a difficult thing to maneuver. It's one of the reasons that, for example, in our mud game, all the scandals that we have, we made sure that the scandals, like, first of all, like, I do a lot of improv and comedy, and like the thing that you have to do is punch up, right? You never punch down. And so that was another thing when we were looking at all the scandals, is we wanted to make sure that the scandals that we chose were not like were scandals that were punching up, right? They were like things that a political figure did that was malicious, not, a scandal where they were found out. Like, for example, there's one individual that had like electric shock treatment, and that became a huge scandal and a reason why they lost the election. But like, that's not a malicious thing that they did. So we're not going to put that in the game, whether it's somebody that like, was like trading, illegal arms, like, oh, okay, you're like, that can go in the game. You made a mistake. Like you made a scandal.
You opted in.
You opted into that,
Yeah.
And so, I think that it is like a thing that we are cautious about and talk about how we talk about things, the type of language that we use. So yeah. So Simon, like that's the thing, right? It's like, it's definitely not, we've gotten to when we've gone out to reviewers and people have said, hey, I can't play this game. And I think that you respectfully go like, absolutely. Like it is not, again, you opt in to playing the game. What we hope is that for people that it is a good avenue for that they can.
So getting back to the definition, Jade, do you have anything at all to add?
I think that I really respect how all-encompassing your definition is, and I guess I would just say, that intent is part of respect, and that respect is about recognizing the universal truth that we are all deserving of the same amount of kindness, goodness, and empathy. So yeah, I don't have a lot to add to the definition per se.
So let's talk about how we can do it well, how we can actually take steps to make sure that we are respecting things. And let's go in the opposite order, if that's okay. So Jade, how can we respect things? What are some things that make you feel, okay, this game actually was respectful?
Oh, like how are you asking me how I feel that this game is respectful?
You can use examples from your own game, and also I don't know if you looked into Holding On or Freedom, Underground Railroads or Spirits Island or any of the other games that deal with sensitive topics, and how, you know, Spirit Island, you know, not making any claims, and what different games do to try and make themselves so that they can talk about these things without causing harm and trying to bring good to the world, which seems to be a big part of the kindness that I Love That Cat originally. It's such a powerful word.
Yeah, well, I think that I haven't played those games, so I can't possibly comment on them. I think, you know, mindfulness is always really nice. I think that we often get ourselves into a space where we're seeing so much from our own perspective, and it can be easy to vilify people that don't agree with us, or that seem like they're trying to go against what we believe is the right course of action. And being mindful of they are you, you know, they are, you know, an extension of you just by nature of being another human being. And that, you know, to respect their opinion doesn't mean you have to agree with it, but you give it credence to exist because they lived a life different than you did, and they came to this conclusion, you know, however they did through their life experience. I can't really comment on the games. I know that like it is like difficult for us because, or I don't know if I would say difficult. It's just different for us because we're sardonic people. We are sarcastic, like sort of like we love playing the villain in the game, and that in no way is representative of who we are as people. You know, it's just because that's something that is enjoyable for us to take on in the game. So, you know, in Mud, it's a dirty politician. I don't want politics to be dirty. I don't want that to be a reality. But I think that art is not supposed to give you utopia every time. In fact, I think the best art is not something that answers the question, but asks it, presents it to you. You know, here's a problem. Now let's talk about that. Let's talk about that situation. You know, I don't like particularly art that is preachy or giving me some kind of solution all the time, or saying, well, that you shouldn't be the way you are. You should be this way, and this is the way that I'm prescribing it to you. So so yeah, that's the way that I would like to be. If somebody finds that, you know, to be mean-spirited, okay. I apologize, but I think that it's my way of understanding the world, and I think that that's, you know, that's a valid way to understand the world as well.
For sure. And what you say about just starting those conversations, and it kind of feels like you're shining a light on a particular thing, but let's not forget that whatever you choose to shine lights on, you're making those decisions, and so you are making political statements, whether, you know, let's look at gender representation, whether it's going to be primarily male presenting or primarily female presenting, or a mixture with some queer folk, you know, in there. It makes whether you present something because you are propagating the status quo, and even just going along with the status quo is itself a political statement. And so Jen, what do you think makes, same question, what do you think is good and positive about this?
There's a couple of things I think that we are lucky to be able to do, or I'm lucky to be able to do. English is my second language, and I'm not great with words. But Kat and Jade are both copywriters. So I think one of the things that we've done really well in our games is be really intentional about the way we word things. So, you know, for example, like in side effects, we don't call the cards diseases. We call them mental disorders. Like we're very tactical about like the words that we choose. Or it's funny that you mentioned kind of gender or representation. All of our cards, there's no gender in them. So like when you're reading about the candidate, they're all like, it'll say, you know, candidate defrauded by whiskey ring. It doesn't say she, it never, like, I think there's only one where it was important for like the context of the card. The rest of them were all kind of like gender neutral. Like there's no gender in the
Can
cards.
I ask, what was that one card and why
Do you
was
remember,
it
Kat?
important?
Yeah, I do. Okay, so it really came to light during the pandemic. So the New York State governor, his name is Cuomo. He got like a lot of media attention because he started doing daily briefings during the pandemic. So people started tuning in every day, and he was giving a lot of good information. But he also was doing a lot of. He got taken his photograph taken a lot, wearing this like pretty tight white polo shirt. And the internet went nuts saying that his nipples might be pierced. The internet went absolutely crazy, to the extent that Cuomo's staff released an official statement that his nipples were in fact not pierced. So we wanted to reflect this in our game because the scandal, I think, is not the state of his nipples. The scandal is that his staff commented on them. And we felt like it was important to include that these nipples belong to a male presenting person because there's like sort of a more sexualized nature had it been to a female candidate. And we felt like that was an important distinction to make, that this wasn't like, I think it's really easy to come in hot on a woman's appearance in a way that we're like a little bit more like used to, which is not okay. But the fact that it was like this much attention for a man's nipples felt even stranger. And we wanted to just like highlight the absolute absurdity of the official nipple statement.
Yeah, it's a really weird one, and I'm glad that you said that. It shouldn't be the case. That's we're happy to talk about the way that Theresa May looks, or Maggie Thatcher, whatever. You know, they're the women leader of the UK. You know, it should be about, or they were, obviously not now. You know, one of them's dead and would probably, well, I don't know.
We've got Boris.
And her appearance is even worse now.
Yeah.
Oh, she's dead?
But yeah, like, I mean, unless you're really into skeletons.
Right. I am.
We are, yeah.
And then the other thing that we did, and it's part of our Kickstarter rewards, is that you can put yourself in the game. And we were actually worried what you said, that we would, because the kind of board game industry is a lot of white males, that we would all of a sudden like include too many white males in our game. And so we like held back a lot. There we go.
Yeah.
Hey,
Aren't we all?
whatever you're into, Simon, we do not, we will not shame you for whatever you're thinking about.
Pretty brilliant nips.
So I am too now.
Now.
But now, yeah. So we there's 96 voter cards, and we did not release all of them because we don't know, who's going to buy the award, and we didn't want a game that was not representative. So we released half of them, and then we're going to send out a survey that is optional, asking people to self-identify to just make sure that we've got a good kind of collection of individuals. But, it was everything from, you mentioned having like queer folk in here, from that to, like different races, different age brackets. And so, because it's all kind of different individuals that are on the cards, and they're all kind of sketched. This one's actually me. And then this one's actually Kat.
Ooh,
But like, so we've talked about already, just a bit about thoughtfulness, about going into things, and obviously bringing in real world things, but analyze, being sensitive to word choice, which I appreciate. And is there anything else, Kat, that you would like to add to this?
Yeah, I think Jade touched on this, that it we just as a company, I think we all sort of lean a little, we all have kind of like a dark sense of humor. And the saying that I love, but also drives me crazy, is that there's no laughter in heaven. So that when everything is good and just purely kind, it can be maybe a little boring. And I think that what has been a fun challenge of these games is keeping it kind and thoughtful and deliberately named and articulated, but still also finding ways to make it fun and playful and poke a little fun at these things that are so important that we still have a hard time talking about. And I think we did that in Side Effects, and the way we did it in Mud is really through the art. There's like, instead of the reality of politicians, which are, somebody in a different place and like a totally different economic situation than you, that's like making major decisions about the day-to-day of your life, we represented them with a rat. And all the rats, here we go. So we got a little rat here, just like a little way to like breathe some humor into the game, but then, still keep it kind of true. And then Jen was pointing out the scandals. I mean, they're all real scandals that had real repercussions, but we made them into blind items. So we're not naming any names, but we're still kind of having some fun with the fact that these things all really happen to everyone in the country. This is like a shared experience that is kind of bonkers. And it's a way into something stressful that is still somewhat light.
Yeah, could I just touch on that? Or did you want to ask the
No,
question?
go ahead.
Well, I'm sort of obsessed with the idea of play, and I think it's very appropriate in talking about board games to mention like what play actually is, and like what is that realm, like because within play we are sort of in a sacred space to begin with, and I think that from even outside of our species, animals play, and all that, every type of an intelligent mammal will play, and it's really sort of a way to deal with something. So the tigers will play, jump on each other and kill each other, and the gazelles will play run away from the tigers, and run away from each other. And
It's
so
not actually doing things in reality, but simulating it, and it ties into Ralph Koster's theory of fun, which says play is a safe space for learning.
Exactly. So this is that safe space for learning, even in games. When we play a game of war, we're sort of accessing that in a way. Even at these benign games that have been around for a long time, like chess or Risk, these are games of violence, right? But we're not criticizing them that way, because I think that we know that we're appreciating them within a certain sort of like magical space of learning and understanding, and knowing that we are applying heuristic, systems to other things in our life that are more, safe. So I just think like that's what's so amazing about designing board games and playing board games, is that we're dealing with things in a kind of otherworldliness, in a different realm.
I mean, there is definitely a weird one where, lots of it is in the USA, where war is seen as this thing which is totally fine, whereas sexuality or politics are seen as totally taboo. And I think that I would personally not see Risk as a completely benign game, and whether Risk is sensitive or not, I think deserves a closer discussion, but it might be out with the scope of this particular thing. We have Igartua Win Games. Thank you for joining us. And with the same level definition of respect, what do you think about arts, two-dimensional stuff, sculpture, movie, picture, etc., that expresses ideas with strong images? Let's just have a hot take going round the thing, because I know that you guys want to get back to have a nap. Hot take from who wants to go first?
Well, can we define strong images? What does that mean?
I'm going to assume that this is images that have the potential to offend, like with images of, mutilations that have happened as due to things actually portraying the death that happened. Like some of the images that we see of the Holocaust, this is a really important thing that we need to learn about so we don't repeat it. And some of those images are just, incredibly going to be upsetting if you're anyone of sound mind, frankly.
I'm totally for it.
Kat.
Yeah. I can't. Yeah. I'm like, maybe with a disclaimer, to say, strong image ahead, just so no one's caught off guard, or maybe have someone a little younger or somebody who just isn't in a mental space for that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm 100% for it. I think, yeah, as your example is great. Like, we can't censor the Holocaust. Like that's it's a disservice to the people that endured it, and the people alive that don't want something like that to happen again. I think it's important to learn from reality and confront the horrors, but also the wonderful things. You can't have one without the other. If you start here, how about this? If you want to censor the bad things, you also have to censor the good things. Okay, so you just get things that are okay. That's my rule.
Right.
I guess I've got like a pretty kind of similar, like I haven't given this like a ton of thought. And so like my gut was kind of where you were, Kat. I think the thing where my head went is like, when we're explaining like gore, splatter movies, that Darwin said is like, there is bad art. Like, the message could be bad. It could be like badly done. It could be distasteful. Like it doesn't like it having like arts that express ideas with strong images can be done badly. It doesn't excuse that. Like you can have bad art. You can use strong images in the wrong way. It doesn't mean that like nobody gets to do it. It can mean that we can like object to the way that somebody has.
Yeah, like it shouldn't be gratuitous.
Right.
It should serve a purpose.
Yeah. Like it's not for like the sake of shocking.
Right.
Like there has to be a message, or again, it kind of comes back to like the idea of intent. And intent isn't everything. You can have good intent and it can have bad effects. But it's still really important. And so I think like the intention of the artist when they're using those kinds of images is important.
Do you have anything else to add, Jade?
I definitely agree with everything you're saying. I think you're always, in anything you do, in any way you live your life, you're going to offend people. So you got to try to minimize that, like you got to try to like walk that line, but there's never going to be a set rule or and anybody that tells you that there's a definite way to be is wrong, because you're always going to be pissing people off, and your art is always going to be misunderstood or misreceived by swaths of individuals. I'm talking millions of people could be offended by something that you do or say or are, and it's up to you to sort of define, well, am I living my life in a way that is trying to be nicer to others and is trying to further a compassionate and empathetic agenda? And then the other thing to add is like, I grew up watching gory splatter movies. So I don't know how to, that's just a part of me. Is that gratuitous? Sure. To me, it exists in another space. It's really not, art. It's just sort of like stupid fun. It's like popcorny, stupid movies, but I mean, the whole point of that is to be gratuitous. So like, I don't know where to categorize that or how to put that into this framework of respect, because that doesn't feel like it's part of the conversation at all. It almost feels like
talking like I don't know, I don't have the research for this, but my hypothesis is that there's not really any artist that has like really changed a movement or made a big statement that didn't have people who thought that they were disrespectful. Like that there's probably just no example. Like I'm sure somebody like when Andy Warhol made his first kind of big painting that was different, that somebody was like, oh, he's disrespecting art. Like there's always either, it's like kind of back to what you were saying, Jade. It's like everybody comes with their own set of experiences and are going to, and that's kind of the beauty of art, are going to digest it in a certain way. And it doesn't mean that it is not offensive to them. It is. Just, I don't think like the goal is not 100% acceptance.
Absolutely. And I think that ties so much into what we keep saying here, which like it's better to be loved and hated rather than just to be liked by everyone. To do anything of meaning, you are going to have to accept that there will be negative reactions to anything you do.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
frankly, in terms of game design, in terms of like what is fun, I mean, I've had people say that this is the worst garbage that exists. And, you know, I've had other people say that, you know, it's fun, which obviously it's nicer to hear other people. And this is like not a game that's trying to make a statement. This is just a game that's trying to be a bit of levity. But for some people, you know, just contorting and putting cards around, hey, this game is the worst of that garbage, is a genuine quote. But anyway, the point is that similarly with any statement, even you could argue more so, as the stakes get higher and emotional response gets higher, you know, but it's about being informed, I think, is the key thing that you've all said a lot about this cat, particularly, where you want to make sure that people know what they're getting into with a disclaimer, just saying, hey, this is what you're about to play. And of course, in terms of informed consent, it's not like someone can really play, well, with most of what we think of as a board game, I'm sure there's like examples of can you play a game without consent is a weird thing, but certainly for a typical board game, you have to be actively involved. You're not going to be actually playing it. It's not like someone is throwing pieces at you without your consent, which is okay.
Unless we're playing a surprise
throw pieces.
escape room.
Oh yeah.
And you know, that's why you need to have the informed consent. You need to have the whole, you know, here's the things that I'm happy with. But with a normal game, you have that option to step outside the magic circle. But before you start it, you want to tell people what you're on about.
Sure.
And this is potentially a problem with board games, that right now they are seen as this incredibly light-hearted thing. And I'm going to say, like, this brings me to one of the pitfalls, which is, like, does a serious game need to be serious? Do you know what I mean? Because obviously your game is a somewhat light-hearted game. There's a lot of joy and frivolity to it. How serious does a game need to be in correspondence to its subject matter?
I guess it's kind of also interesting, like, there are subjects that are not game worthy. And maybe that's a question for you guys. Maybe not
What
everybody
subjects?
agrees. I probably wouldn't make a game about rape. You know, like I probably wouldn't, you know, make a game about the Holocaust. Although there are games about, you know, the Titanic and like these other tragedies, right? So,
and about the Holocaust.
What? There are games about the Holocaust?
Yeah, I mean, there is a game about the Holocaust that...
I mean, there's Secret Hitler, right? So...
And also Trained by Brenda Romero. And there are games about rape, but I don't know if that's been done in a sensitive way.
Right.
And for certain, the sensitivity that you need to apply feels like it needs to be commensurate with the potential to harm. Yeah.
I think maybe like all of a sudden I'm talking and I'm thinking like, all right, there are, you know, ways that people have done. I don't know if you've seen the memes around balancing rape with asking someone for a cup of tea. And if they say yes or no. So it's like, you know, just because I had a cup of tea yesterday doesn't mean that I want a cup of tea now. No, thank you. Or, you know, like you said you liked cup of teas. And like it does like this whole like scenario where you like would be like, that's so
about
stupid.
The notion of consent, yes.
Right. And so, you know, like there's probably a good game on consent that you can create. So, you know, I'm talking and I'm saying like there are ways to be intelligent about difficult subjects and kind of getting there. But there are probably also like, you know, when we talk about pitfalls, like what you choose to tackle is, you know, probably something that you should have, you know, some personal experience with or have done the research or like truly understand perspectives before kind of just diving in.
Yeah, I think it's just to piggyback on that, I think that what's always going to be sort of like maybe difficult for people to understand about where we approach these topics is that we don't always approach them from, I think, like I said before, like the perspective of how we really feel. And I think that some people can see that as confusing. To me, it makes perfect sense. It's the notion of sarcasm in a time of pain, which is how my family dealt with everything. Anything tragic was dealt with a certain form of sarcasm or jokingness or something like that. To me, that's pain relief. And I know that just as easily somebody else could see that as offensiveness. I can't change the way I am, though. I mean, that's the way I deal with this. And that's the way that I'm happy to deal with it. I'm proud to deal with it. I mean, that's from my family tradition. So where that works into games, though, I mean, like, I've been for years now trying to think of how to approach global warming in a game, which is a very serious topic. One that I think is something that we have to be thinking about all the time. But I would like to approach it in the sense of where you play a real estate mogul who's buying land away from sea level inland that is increasingly gaining value because the sea level is rising and your land inland is suddenly seafront property. To me, that is a funny, sarcastic way to approach that topic, right? But it, at the same time, alerts you to an incredibly serious, dire problem that is happening right now, right? So it does two things at once, and some of them can be considered like, contradictory. To me, it makes sense. I mean, that's playing the kind of sardonic card, the sarcastic, edgy kind of approach to something serious. I mean, I don't know. I'd love other people's opinions of that, but that's the way I see pain. That's the way I deal with pain.
It makes a lot of sense that humor is cathartic, and even though it might be problematic, maybe we can make a humorous game about, giving people tea only when they want tea, based on that metaphor.
Right.
But yeah, you need to make sure that it's well received. And yeah, for sure, it can fall flat, or people might not be able to understand what you're actually saying. And you want to make sure that you're not misinterpreted.
Yeah, and I think that there's always a danger that you're going to be misinterpreted, especially if you're approaching something from a sarcastic point of view. But you also got to make the art that you want to see in the world, and the art that resonates with you as well, right? And it resonates with your family, however extended that is, So I think that is a game I would rather pick up and play and get me thinking about these issues more severely than one that was like, let's recycle, and the game is recycling, and the game is about water conservation, right? Because to me, that's Sesame Street, that's kid stuff. That's not something that appeals to me, that is gonna make me change or make me understand the problem that this is in this world as viscerally as approaching it from the other direction.
Kat, do you have anything to add about all of this?
No, I love this. I love this idea of understanding something difficult through the eyes of the kind of bad guy of it. That's such a fun way to do it. It really, we were talking earlier about the superhero show. It is there's something really delightful about rooting for the bad guy, and it's a really sort of sweet way to approach a complicated topic where you don't really feel like you have any power, is to hop into the shoes of the powerful entity.
There's so many movies that play with that, right? The anti-villain.
Yeah, and
the anti-hero. Sorry,
Anti-villain.
Anti-villain.
Double negative.
So they're basically a hero,
right?
Yeah. In terms of pitfalls, though, yeah, I think, like you're saying, it's you can't please everybody, and I think if you approach it sensitively and something you feel like you can back up, like how Jade was saying, this might feel sarcastic to somebody else, but it feels totally appropriate to you and to your family and to me and to everybody in the company, I think it's okay. You do something that makes sense for you, and hopefully people agree. And if they don't, that's totally fine.
Yeah, and also like, okay, so with side effects, I think that I wouldn't have tried to approach that topic if I hadn't had like personal experience. I think there's also something to be said of that. Like I've been on medication, I've had bouts of mental health problems. I've had several friends of mine commit suicide. There's been a lot of like issues in my life that have revolved around that topic. For me, this was the natural progression of that pain. It was making it into a game and treating it in this way, And I think that I don't think that I would have approached that topic had I not had that personal experience. I think that like something like politics and global warming is something we're all experiencing. So we can all kind of come to that table sort of equally. So I feel, less like it's a personal expression and more like it's a societal and political expression. But still, I think that, yeah, of course, if you're going to make a game that has a kind of like personal, like, or has a slant that is similar to something like mental illness, I think it's helpful at least to say, well, you know what, I do have experience in this. This isn't coming from totally out of left field. I mean, this isn't something I'm approaching as an outsider. It's a real thing, and it's a real personal issue.
Now, there's a lot of sorry about that.
It's okay.
There's a lot of tips that we've already talked about, which is just making sure that you have some experience, understanding, or do your research. Now, when it came to this game, how did you go about doing your research? Let's go round from Jen. You look ready to answer.
No, I just immediately thought about one cool thing in the game, which is all the voters in all the regions are actual representations. So like the percentage, like it's much easier, this is a US thing, but it's much easier to win a liberal Northeast than it is a liberal South, because we have way more conservatives in the South. And so like, and the same thing with the amount of upper class versus working class, those percentages are, actually depictions of kind of our current economic and political leanings in the US. So that's kind of like a fun, again, like a big part of what Pillbox wants to do is make games that are real world systems. So like as much as we can pull from like true existing systems, the better.
And so, yeah, you want to have stuff that has a direct analog to something that exists in the world. You don't want to abstract away too much.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else got anything to add? Kat?
This is something that I can't take credit for, but I really appreciate about our games is the art. I think that a way you can really do some sensitive topics justice is by representing them as beautifully and as complexly as they are. And I really like that about the games we make as I think someone maybe said this earlier, but like we want to make games that you want to leave out on your coffee table. And I think Side Effects and certainly Mud both do that. There's so much attention to the nuances of our voters and of, the various powers you can play. And I think there's a real merit into, if you're going to turn a concept into a physical thing like a game, into making that game as beautiful and as high quality as you possibly can.
Okay. Yeah.
I was going to answer Jay Foolsguard's question about the nuances. There was a comment, which nuances of U.S. politics? All of them, I would say. It's not very nuanced, I don't think at all. I think if you're looking for a nuanced political game, this isn't it. It's more of a fun game that has the theme or the skin of social commentary when it comes to U.S. elections. So I think that I can comment on things like, the two-party system and how that's sort of poisoning the way that we think about progress, and how scandals become sort of innocuous when they're piled up. But nuances. We're not trying to model it off of the U.S. political system. We're trying to sort of take these certain aspects of it and make that into the game.
But at a certain point, if you abstract away too much, isn't there a danger then of just having this game that, sure, it has this theme, vague theme or trapping of being a social commentary, but then it results in just a bunch of people sitting around saying, oh yes, isn't this terrible? But then it doesn't actually achieve anything. Do you know what I mean?
Actually, I really felt that because I got advice from somebody that was like, oh, this would be way more marketable if you take away that it's from the US and make it like a different kind of like a country, like make it completely like a different place that's not real, and take away that, you know, skin. And we talked about it, and it was like, well, if you do that, you kind of take away like the actual message, and you take away, like, it's no longer punchy. If I, you know, place it in this like other place, you know, called Americuchisa, and you know, make it completely random, then it kind of takes away the whole point.
And Bez, just to jump onto what you were saying about how like, can it just become a bunch of people sitting around and not doing anything? I think that could be said about any piece of art ever. I mean, how are we going to say that a painting isn't just a bunch of people saying, oh, what a lovely picture on the wall? Right. You know, it's you take that and, you know, you make that conscious choice to get through to make that change as the player or the viewer. And yeah, of course, art is going to fall onto deaf ears at some point with certain people. But
people are like, that was fun, and they move on with their lives. You know,
right? I mean, you can't get through to everybody. Cool. It's the, you know, you try and you sort of say, here, this is what we're saying about this, but you know. But the other thing about these games is that we're trying to make people have fun as well, and that those don't have to be mutually exclusive.
How would you reply to Jay Foolsguard, who says, isn't one of the biggest problems of US politics that it has a lack of nuance?
Well, there's a lot to say to that. I think one is that's not the problem that we were trying to solve. We were just trying to address these things. So this is what we're trying to address. So that's a different problem. And also, America has so many problems. I think, like, saying it's one of the biggest, I don't know. I don't even know if I could agree with that. I think it's like there are heaps of problems that are, you know, in addition to a lack of nuance.
I'll bring a little bit of like my regular, you know, non-side hustle work. Like I own a consulting company where we help like big technology companies operationalize, make big decisions, etc. And I always sort of think about this when I think about government is like, I have a hard time getting people in a room that all want the same thing to get on board. Like literally everyone, we know what our revenue targets are. We know what we want to do. We know what our strategy is, and everybody's a yes. And it's still really difficult to get a company of like, I don't know, 5,000 people that like all want to do the same thing to row in the same direction, let alone like government where like everybody's like literally trying to screw each other over, and like, you know, nobody wants the same thing, or like, you know, we like actively want to stop each other from progressing. And like, I do feel like, and I don't know how to solve this, but like if we could just get a North Star that like everybody could be going after, like if it is, you know, it's the American people, like that is the North Star, like that's the thing, the message, the American people, it's for the American people. But like there hasn't been a way to break that down in a way that everybody knows which way they're rowing. And so as long, like, I don't know if I had to pinpoint it, is like, we just don't have that. And as long as we don't have that and everybody's like rowing in different directions, we don't make progress.
Yeah, and I think that, yeah, we can only do so much, but uniting people, it feels like for sure such a difficult thing. Do you have any other tips as we close off for people who might be thinking about having their own game with a message to it, that they want to make a statement?
Go for it.
Let's go around. Sorry?
I feel like it's just like, go for it. Like, start making it. I think that's the kind of biggest thing that holds people back, and it held me back for a long time, is like artists and people that create take the time to do it. And, it can feel really ambiguous until, you put pen to paper.
Kat.
Yeah, I think Jen said it best. Yeah, like just go for it. Take the time to do it. And I guess I would add, make something that delights you, because it might not be something that lets you quit your day job. And I think you have to be really, really excited about whatever you're making. And it has to be something that you're glad to get up early to do. And I think if you do it that way, then no matter what happens, you've spent your time really well.
Yeah, it's hard to add to that. I think you guys said it best. You got to go for it. I think you got to be fearless. I think that, do what the thing that you want to produce in the world, and that you think that would be well received by, people like you. And you're always going to piss somebody off. So just kind of try to be fearless about it and make your voice heard.
And hello, Lawrence. It's lovely to have you watching us. Build it and they will come. It's never entirely true, is it? You need to do the marketing. You need to do so much work to get it. And
there's so many failed Kickstarters.
But those two things have to happen. You have to build it for them to come. Like, it's not a direct path, but that is
step one.
Those are important. I think,
Now, thank you for everything you've been talking about. I'm going to just, try and summarize everything that we've been talking about. So you've been talking about the color yellow, how it's the color of the sun, and chicks and Mr. Happy. We've been talking about Mariposas, about Jen's Family podcast, about Blood Rage and learning games, about, how pineapples and Wingspan. We talked about being friends and, scandals not being such a big deal anymore, about the lack of a third party, about the lack of true representation, about respect being about thoughtfulness, consideration, and kindness. Sensitive topics are basically topics that are more highly charged emotionally, have the potential to damage, but also potentially have the potential to heal or do something of extra value. People can feel seen. Make sure to respect everyone and try to understand others. About respect doesn't mean agreement. Art might ask, it doesn't need to answer. Word choice is important. About thoughtfulness, we talk so much about thoughtfulness, and that's my big takeaway today. It is really all about consideration and mindfulness, about how you represent reality, about representing all the folk that you feel are important to the story, not just the folk that are this is reality as it currently is, but these are the folk that matter, because there is a political statement in who you choose to show, about having disclaimers and making sure everyone is informed about what they're getting into, because it's not always clear what kind of game you're going to play. And if it's like, oh yeah, let's play a party game, and then, whoa, wait a minute, this is not what I signed up for. You want to tell people, okay, this is a political game, and so people can choose to step out at that point or play something different if they want to. Don't just shock people. That doesn't feel like a great thing. You're going to offend someone, and that's okay. You have to be willing to. You have to ask yourself, are you able to tackle this? And that's where some research could go a long way. And I would personally add to make sure that you research not just the subject, but also how it's already been represented, and having a look at, if you are thinking of making a political game, well, look at Twilight Struggle and look at the Macker, and even in more serious games, look at how it's been done. We talked about humor is a way of healing, about it being cathartic. We talked about the potential for misrepresentation, that anything can be misrepresented. Make the thing that you want to see in the world. Don't abstract away too much. Make sure you represent the details that matter. Jen and Kat talked a lot about the physical beauty of the product. Maybe that represents the, something about the value that you place in it, which is a bit sad because, I think that by doing that, there is this inaccessibility in terms of cost. But it would be nice if you have, okay, let's have a little thing in a talk box, and this could still be a deeply powerful political game. But maybe people don't have that expectation, which is incredibly sad. So, no, that's the kind of thing that, I would love to chat about for a longer time on another show, about the danger of preaching to the choir. But we can only do so much. Take the time to do it. Just make something that delights you, whether it's delight or something that you think is valuable. And I think that, Jade, who said, make the art that you want to see in the world, that is such a powerful thing to be reminded of. And so, a failed Kickstarter is not building it first.
Fair enough.
That's what Lawrence says. And Alan says, hey, Bez, Kat, Jen, and Jade, who's been away for a week. And glad that you are back with us, Alan. It's been a while since you jumped in, so lovely to have you back on the show. Obviously, feel free to go back, and if you're watching on YouTube after the fact and you don't have the time to watch the whole thing, you can put it on double speed, and as long as you can intuit things. Anyway, so that it is lovely to see everyone. I want to say thank you to everyone. Thank you to everyone who's been watching. Thank you to these wonderful people, to Kat.
Thanks, Bez.
To Jen. And to Jade.
Thanks, Bez.
This has been so wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
And if you want to find me, stuffbabez.com is my main website. Stuffbabez.bigcartel.com is where you can buy stuff. Twitter.com/stuffbabez is where I post the most. Instagram.com/stuffbabez. I'm posting pictures, and I'm actually about to post a plan for next week. Twitch.tv/stuffbabez is best place for live viewing. Facebook.com/thingsbybez and stuffbabez@gmail.com if you wish to find me. And I'm about to post some links, and you can talk through those if you want. Let me nominate Jen, just because Jen is the person that you got in touch with me first.
Oh, sorry, I froze for a sec. Can you tell me what I'm supposed to do right now?
Talk through these links.
Oh, yeah, cool. So our website, pillboxgames.com. If you follow us on Instagram, Pillbox Games, we're pretty active on it. So, and if you DM us, we DM back. And then you've got our Kickstarter link. So right now we are only $500 away from our next stretch goal, which is to add this kind of same metallic thing to the box. So that would be really awesome. And then we've got
no additional cost.
What's that?
At no additional cost. So it's
no additional cost.
Right,
That's
exactly.
Right.
We're not increasing the price. It's the same $25.
And then you've got our YouTube playthrough if you want to see us and our other business partner, Ben, play through a game.
And I was really impressed with that playthrough. It was
Thank you.
really, whoops, I meant to take off the other one. I felt it was a really nice idea. You kind of filmed it with 3 cameras going simultaneously, it looked like.
Yep.
Although one of the walls was very different from the 2 other walls, and it was a little bit jarring seeing the yellow and blue pop up.
It's where Jade is right now.
Yeah. And then it was having that filming and then the commentary after it was such a cool idea. And it's one that I might actually steal for a future thing, being like, okay, let's play, 10 games of Kitty Cataclysm because, that, or 5 games, I don't know, because one game might be 20 seconds, which is not enough for a video. And then let's have a bunch of games, and then we'll afterwards sit and do some commentary. It was
fun.
Nice idea. Anyway, I want to do the regular thing. I want to ask everyone who's watching in the comments, if you feel ready to share, only if you want to. It's over to you. What are you up to? You can share only if you want to. So is there anything that you want to share? Something that you're looking forward to? A hope or an ambition? You can share anything, whether it's exciting or trivial, whether it's important or just fun. Share. Go ahead and start. Anyone? Okay, I am looking
us
forward
too.
to...
Sorry, I thought you meant
you're
the
also
audience.
allowed to look. You know, everyone's involved, whether you're on video or whether you're in the comments. So Alex says there's not enough red. And I think that was a comment about your video because of the yellow and blue walls, not enough red. You know.
Which is true.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. That's lovely, J. Guard.
Thank you.
I want to share that it's actually a sunny day. I don't think I can see any actual... Oh, no. Wait, there's a tiny... It's not quite blue. It's kind of a pale blue. It's kind of... There's clearly clouds, but there's a patch of really thin clouds, which is, you know, the closest we've got to blue sky. So that's super exciting. I'm going to try to tidy my room. I'm going to set up streams ahead. I'm going to... yeah, that's my main things. I'm going to try and hope to have a nice walk, maybe listen to some podcasts, and I'm going to make sure that I write some legal things that I've been putting off for quite a while. Ooh, Lawrence's tournament is coming up. Ooh, that's exciting. Alan Oughton is gardening in the Secrets of Garden.
Don't tell anyone. I'm going to tweet about it.
Yeah. Ooh, Alex, it's family day, and Dens are finishing off the roll and write this evening. Oh, lovely. Enjoy spending time with your family. And Jay Folsgard loves the disco ball.
Your disco ball.
Thank you. Yes.
Can you spin it on your finger? Higher? A little higher? Almost.
The disco ball is on a dimmer switch, so you can speed up or slow down, depending on how much disco you want in your day.
Ooh.
Thank you for
Do you
this.
have anything else you would like to share?
Well, I am looking forward to watching the series premiere of Utopia. And I love that show.
The series premiere? Oh, is like the next season?
Like the last episode.
Oh.
So it's like just the time that it goes live, everyone's watching it together. It's kind of like a way to harken back to the days of the TV when everyone tuned in at the same time and then phoned everyone up and said, oh my God, or you can even just phone people and watch it at the same time as them, like they're in the same room, and then you can say, oh, are you watching? Oh my God, like this just happened, and then you're sharing those moments with each other, even if you're not sitting together.
Netflix came out with a new feature during COVID called Watch Party, where you can all play the movie at the same time and have comments on the side.
Yeah.
Or you can just have a phone call going on.
Yeah, Kat and I have done that before. We watched an entire movie over the phone. At the same time, we just press play at the same time. All right.
But then if anybody has to get up to take a break, you gotta pause. You gotta really play it.
Yeah, you need to say 3,
Stuff.
2, 1, pause.
Yeah.
And pause, yeah.
Yeah, it's really cozy though. It's really sweet. I might go for a bike ride today. I'm a little excited about that.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Anything you want to share, Jade, or?
The sun is coming up. And since you're such a fan of the sky, I thought maybe Jen could show. Yeah, she's got a great view.
Lovely. So this is the New York sky from Brooklyn. What floor are you on?
Jen,
you're muted again. Maybe we can...
12th floor.
Oh, there 12. You go.
Oh, that's solid. Ooh, that's a nice view.
There.
Wow.
The sunsets are epic.
So, yeah, thank you, everyone. Enjoy your walk, Lawrence. I hope everyone watching and everyone not watching, I hope you generally have a good, lovely day. Check out the Kickstarter and all the links. The links are either in the Facebook description, in the YouTube description, or in the comments in Twitch. You would see them. I'm doing the Bez and Friends game day next Saturday, which is with myself, Alan Paul, who's showing off Ming Voyages, a 2-player asymmetric thing. Isaac Shalev's showing off Q4U, which is a game about language and a bit of a party game. Chris Bocky's doing How Much Money, which will be at the start of the day. Everyone getting to know each other. And it will be people who hopefully come in. Maybe they somewhat know each other, maybe we're strangers, but we leave as people who all know each other and are all friends. And that's the idea. Like, it's from... There is going to be an introduction to it at 10 a.m. UK time, as I do daily streams, but we're going to start the Discord games at 1 p.m. UK time, which I think is minus for 8 a.m. New York, I think, I want to say.
5 hours before, yeah.
Yeah, 8 a.m. Anyway, so that is a thing, and yeah, everyone's welcome. For my next streams, look at stuffabez.com/streams. Tomorrow I am talking to Shem Phillips about making new stuff. There's all sorts of exciting things happening. I will share the whole schedule on Twitter and Instagram in a wee moment. And feel free to share the word if you think that this is something that's been of value. Please do that. There is one request that I personally have, which is, I was going to ask people to sign up to me, because if I get like 16 more subscribers, then I will be able to have an actual name. So,
which
so
channel?
That didn't work. YouTube.
Okay.
So there we go. Hopefully this will work. I'm just pasting it in now, and 16 subscribers, and then I can get a proper thing.
Ooh,
and
okay.
so that is that. Thank you, everyone. There is only one thing left to do, unless you want to remind people to back your Kickstarter, I guess.
Yes, back it. Do it.
Okay. So, yeah, anyone on... I'm just checking if there's any cool music for us to join in and read.
Thanks for everybody in the comments for saying such nice things. This was so fun to chat with you, Baz, but then also chat with all your viewers. It's been such a wonderful morning. It's so great of you to have us on your show. It's been really, really fun.
Aww.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, and thank you so much for making the effort. And now we finish off. And actually, I'm not going to do a raid today, but I am going to say bye, 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 bye. This is the goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye, 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 bye. This is the goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye-bye.